Hello everyone, Richard Miller, Never Not Here, moving through Australia.
It's a good country. I think it'll be one of the main countries that helps the evolution of consciousness on the planet, and in particular the women. You do know that the Dalai Lama recently said that it'll be the Western women that make consciousness more available for the world. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't, but it's exciting. I've always kind of believed in that, but I've never been an authority to get anyone to believe me.
Yeah, he's got that authority. So. But I think particularly Australia as well, because we're such a small population in such a huge country with a lot of resources and not too much debt. So, we'll manage one of the better of the Western countries.
No, I've been thinking about small countries because I've been thinking about Scandinavia and even as small as Iceland, which is 200,000. And I was thinking it's like somebody's got to make a beta test. Somebody's got to, which means like an experiment, a new experiment in society, and how we hold ourselves and carry ourselves, and
Yes.
what is the root for our behavior. And
well, in the sense that you can't be in your own, strongly identified with your own personality, and then try and see the solutions from the perspective of your personality. You have to step out. You have to do what the Zen monks of all these centuries did, and actually go and take yourself out of your personality by sitting in the cave or in the monastery for 12 years if you're a Zen monk, or in the Himalayas silently for years if you're an Indian sadhu. And only then can you find the inner wisdom or inspiration to be able to see through your conditioning and your ancestral conditioning and your natural DNA response, and just come up with something new. So yes, I think is the answer to that.
so you phrased it in a way that was traditional, right? You say you have to get out and of your personality, step out of it, and the ways that the Zen tradition spoke of monasteries or separation and so on. But I mean, is that true?
Well, that is the old way, and I think that as consciousness is developing and increasing quite quickly at this present time, there is now a new way to do it. And I once asked the Dalai Lama that very question. I said, you say in Buddhism that until the last person has crossed over the bridge, you can't all be free, but could it not be possible for somebody to spontaneously awaken? So that's looking at the Advaita tradition and also at some branches of Tibetan Buddhism where there is a possibility of just awaking spontaneously. And his answer was, he said, well, yes and no. In the relative world, we need people to follow traditions, to feel like they're doing something towards the development of their consciousness, to study, to meditate, and so on. And at the same time, there is definitely the possibility of somebody spontaneously awakening. So, for example, my master, who was Papaji in the lineage of Ramana Maharishi, which is an Advaitic tradition, is saying that, if you really become still in this moment now, it's enough. That if you really you can have a glimpse, like a eureka moment, where you see the truth of your own being in that moment. And then it's rather like riding a bicycle. Once you've learned to ride a bicycle, even 50 years later, you can pick up a bicycle and you still know how to ride it. You got it.
So there's a knack to it, some kind of a knack. We call it a knack. That means like it's not a learning, but it's somehow a bodily response to.
I wouldn't even say it's a knack. I'd say it's a revelation. It's a moment that just comes on you. And
okay, then once you have that revelation, there's a knack to walk back to it. There's somehow when you're back there, or something. What?
Well, you certainly know when you're in that space, and there's a recognition of being in that space, and a recognition when you're out of it. But I think when you're in that space of all acceptance of whatever is, then as soon as the mind comes in and starts thinking about it too much, you can be out again, because it's not a process of the mind. So the mind immediately comes in and makes it past tense or future tense, and never really leaves it being now.
Isn't there a bigger context? Because you're speaking of a certain experience that's very clear, right? But there's a bigger context of just normal humanity that would have expansion but also contraction. Expansion.
And I think it's part of the process for all of us, expansion and contraction. Even the great gurus, I feel they also had their expansions and contractions. And so even though the ground of being has been recognized and they know who they are, there still is room for personality to do its momentary digression. You know?
Well, that's what I'm trying to say, is like a bigger context, see, because we're saying, okay, in that narrow, it's kind of a narrower context of just that pure clarity, you know, that pure clarity. And then we're defining, oh, that's what life is. That what life is, the space, is this space where everything unfolds, you know. But somehow, what if we had a bigger context and just said that real awakening was going into that space and out of that space freely, with liberty, you know,
yes, that's nice.
Not saying I got to get there or I got to get back there, you know.
That's very nice, yes.
And does anybody talk like that?
Well, you just did. That was great.
I never said it before. I don't know. Maybe just got inspired here.
I think that's really, really, really a key, because as soon as you're attached or identified with this is it, I got it, this is the space, this is it, you're out of it. You know, because it's always going to be a continual development, a continual unfolding, or a continual revelation.
No, even that. Now let's cut back from that, because like even that means we're always raising and raising and raising, right? But I'm not saying that. We're going this way and we're going that way and we're going. The bigger context is just life. Now,
and I also don't really want to say raising.
I mean, I know, but you're saying that when you say unfolding already, that means we're getting deeper or something like that, right? Or rising up in our consciousness, or that's what's automatically put there, right? And so then you're saying, well, yeah, but I'm not getting any deeper. I'm just going in and out like always. And then there's some kind of dissatisfaction and some kind of judgment. And let me say this, you know, because I want to give another kind of a metaphor, you know, because I was coaching golf. And I'm not a golfer, but I was just being the video part of it. So I was in the link, right? And so then I realized that if you have too tight of expectations before you take a shot, an automatic reaction is a judgment, and like, and then a judgment, a disappointment, and a tightening on your next shot.
Yes.
Okay, say you want to hit the pin, and I'm going to hit the pin, see? And then you go to you're never going to hit the pin, because how many times are you going to hit the pin? You make a hole in one every other year or something like that. So then you're going to be a little bit to the right or a little bit to the left. And just because you said I'm going to hit the pin, there's going to be a judgment. Oh, that's too far to the left. Then the next shot is going to be, there's going to be some kind of cramping in your neck or something that's going to try to tweak right.
I think that's the key is within that, in that, you know, because we always will have mind and it serves us greatly, it's a question of how quickly mind can drop that discomfort.
No, listen to this. See if you like this. Because I'm going to go a little farther. Because if, on the other hand, you say, no, I'm not trying to hit the pin, I'm just trying to place the ball, it doesn't really matter if it's here, 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 or here, you got to make a second shot. And you just realize that anywhere in that range, when the ball lies there, and so then you don't know where it's going to land until it lands, right? So it lands, excuse me, and then there's no judgment, there's no thought, you're still in the zone, you're still totally in the space, you're still no anxiety, no kind of judgment, no tightness, and golf all depends on the geometry of the body, and just repeating that geometry again and again. And when you put any kind of a tweak of a mind in there that says, oh, I should have done this, or I could have done that, or I gripped too tight, or I did this, you'll be trying to counteract it automatically, because that's the job of the mind, see? So you're saying, well, when the mind lets go, but I'm saying even before, if you have no expectations on the beginning. A lot of times golfers will say the best way to play golf, when you study, you practice, all that stuff, but when you get up to the ball, don't play golf. That's the last thing you do is play golf. Right?
So just relax with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just to be
yourself.
and be in,
Yeah.
and that's the, you know, you find the zone, what they call the zone in sports.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Well, if you can do that, fantastic. But I think one of the, you know, we feel as if we're going backwards and then we're evolving again and we're going backwards. But I think often when I look at my own life, for example, I can see that things that would have created a longer reaction in me previously don't do that so much anymore. So there is a certain letting go, you know, and that can come over years of just seeing that it isn't really that important in the end, you know, and so you can relax more. So the reaction, the instant reaction comes, but then it doesn't stay with you for a few hours or a few days or a few weeks or a few years if your wife just left you, you know, that actually you can allow it to pass through much more quickly.
Sometimes it just takes a hint, you know, you don't know that's an option, to just say, hey, my wife's free. Freedom is the most precious gift I could give her.
Yeah. That's right. If you can find that space, and hopefully that space comes straight away or very quickly, you know, but in most people it takes a little time.
Yeah, but I mean, like I say, first they have to know it's an option. Someone has to give them a hint. You could say, hey, you could notice that you just gave her the best gift that you ever could have imagined. You say, oh yeah, right, I did actually. You know, I gave her her freedom without any attachments or resentments or any kind of energy that I'm throwing at her.
Yeah. And then you become really good friends almost instantly, and life rolls on, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
I think, you know, okay, we started coming in on this part of our discussion by saying that Einstein said you got to get out of the context of the problem.
Yes.
And I said, isn't the grand context breaker called spirituality? And then, because that's not just going from one economic system to another or trying to find another monetary system or something like that, but that's really trying to find out what makes a human look like we think they look. You know, what's the key that unlocks our behavior patterns and relationships?